Good evening and welcome to the Tech Factor, your one-stop show for all things tech. We've got a packed show today discussing the future of streaming, sharing hilarious tech stories and much more. I'm your host, Akil Khalil, and joined by my brilliant co-host, Joel. Now, if you didn't know, Joel, the man who still types faster than most people can think, though we are still trying to teach him how to actually turn off his computer properly. Welcome, Joel.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Akil. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. It's been a while.
It's been a little while, yeah.
It has.
Had a bit of a summer break, haven't we?
We have had a summer break. You're right. I mean, I don't know whether it's intentional, but it has happened.
Yeah, well, everyone's on holiday. Everyone's busy, aren't they?
This is true. We're also missing our two other co-hosts, Faisal and Shamshad. We know Faisal has an issue with his hard drive, so he's currently defragging that at the moment. So we wish him well because technology's moved on. And I think Shamshad has unplugged himself from the Matrix.
Has he been hacked?
He's been hacked. Oh, can you imagine? Can you imagine? Can you imagine him being hacked? In fact, actually, I think he has been hacked the entire time he's been on air. It's just now he's realised he's been hacked, so he's gone to see his Uncle McAfee.
Is he a bot? Is he? Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean,
unplug.
There's other antiviruses available, of course. Now, for tonight's show, the main topic we want to discuss is what's next after streaming. Now, DVD killed VHS, streaming killed DVD, but what will kill streaming? Is the desire for physical media making a comeback, or is there something new on the horizon that will shake up the tech world? That's the main question for this evening, which is what's next after streaming services. You can get in touch with the show by texting us on 07411 191 062 or comment on our social media streams, Facebook, YouTube, X or Twitch. And of course, you can call the show on 01733 602 133. Now, it's an interesting question. Of course it is, Joel, because I feel like you and I have lived through certainly the evolution of this, in terms of home entertainment and how it's changed over the years. But I don't know about you, but I find myself in a situation where you have, 10 plus different streaming services and a million things in catalogues in front of you. And, I'm still struggling for things to watch. I spend more time juggling through a catalogue on a particular streaming service, right? So Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime. I'm clearly missing some. Please jump in. So ITV player, BBC iPlayer.
Yeah.
I forgot what the Channel 4 one's called. Maybe 4X or something. 4OD, is it? Okay.
Like that, yeah.
And Channel 5 player. Then you got Plex. And so on. I'm sure there's more out there. So, love to hear from you. What have I just not reeled off the list? Do let us know by commenting on our social media streams. But anyway, so what you'll find is, as I mentioned earlier, which is as we've lived through this evolution of this streaming product, do you recall at the beginning, there wasn't many titles available on the streaming service? Do you remember? It launched and there was there's 30 movies. Right?
Yeah.
Right at the very beginning. And you were like, oh, hell, there's nothing on here. So you kind of semi-give up. Right?
So one of my questions that I've actually got that we can have a talk about, and if anyone wants to call in about their feelings as well about this, is are we at the burnout stage of subscription services? Is subscription services going to kill themselves off? Yeah? So you've already reeled off a bunch that I've got a list here, on top of that list there, you've got Paramount, you've got HBO, you've got Now TV, but what's happening is you're getting a fragmentation. So like you said before, when it was Blockbuster Video, you had the choice between TV or you'd go somewhere and physically rent one movie for that night. Or one film for that night.
As shocking as that sounds now.
Yeah, and then it moved to then Blockbusters moved to Netflix, but you received that DVD in the post, and then Netflix went full streaming, and you were like, cool, yeah. So you naturally progress into Netflix, and you've got Netflix, and the catalogue on Netflix at the time was very similar to what you get in Blockbusters, and it was all quite seamless. And then all of a sudden you have this burnout, this fragmentation. So Paramount Plus, all of a sudden all of the other streaming services that you're currently subscribed to lose the Paramount films or the Paramount series. Yeah, and the same's happening with HBO. Well, if the same happens with Sony or Warner Brothers, what if they have their own streaming service? You know, you're at that point, I think the streaming service itself is ultimately sort of, going to end up killing itself off because of the burnout and the fragmentation of so many different streaming services. You literally have too much choice and you don't know which way to look, and you end up essentially having none of them, is what it boils down to. So,
okay, thinking about that, you did actually take me back through time. Can I just say, as you went through all those steps, do you remember there was one there? It was called Love Film, I think it was called.
Yes, it was. That's right. That was between that sort of like the mail order blockbusters,
that's right.
wasn't it? Yeah,
I used that for a while.
Yeah,
actually.
It was Love Film that became Netflix, wasn't it?
That's right, or something like that. Yeah. Eventually, yeah, that's right. I mean, but the question that you put there, which is, are they going to kill themselves off? I don't think so. I think what's going to happen, it's just a prediction that I have now, is that the streaming services are going to embrace AI.
Okay.
And originally, I thought they were going to embrace VR. But then VR is still nowhere near as much prevalent, commonplace, bought into by consumers as I thought it would have been. So in my mind, I'm thinking, are we going to now have more personally targeted algorithms? So specifically for you, Joel, right? So your complete digital footprint, which is tracked across all of your social media accounts, is then, that data is then put together by some sort of AI, and so it knows everything about you, right? And then says, okay, this is what you need to watch now. And I'm thinking that's what I think. But then if you look at some of the stats in terms of revenue of streaming services and so on, I mean, it's still staggering. The numbers are really, really high, and I can't see, certainly in its in the short term, how this is going to change. But I mean, as an example, in 2022, the global video streaming market size was valued at around $89 billion, and it's expected to grow to over $223 billion by 2030. So there's still plenty of headroom, right, for the streaming service to happen. But just going back to the original questions, which is, what's going to kill this off? I think it's going to be some new type of tech, and at the moment I keep thinking it's AI.
Interesting. Yeah, there are. So recently there's been a law passed in California where
you're listening to Salaam Radio, and it's now time for Maghrib Azan. This Azan is sponsored by UK Islamic Mission, serving humanity since 1962. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allah. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح
حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم، وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمدا الوسيلة والفضيلة وابعثه مقاما محمودا الذي وعدته. اللهم آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم بك نحيا وبك نموت وإليك المصير. رضينا بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبمحمد صلى الله عليه وسلم نبيا ورسولا.
اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.
Welcome back to the Tech Factor. If you just joined us, we are talking about what's next after streaming services. Now, streaming is convenient, but it limits content ownership. Now, will people want to own their content again?
Yeah, good question. And our survey says, yes, it's looking highly likely that they do. So HMV, the director of HMV, has confirmed that sales of DVD and Blu-rays are up, especially in 4K.
Wow.
Yeah, so people are looking for physical media again, especially movie and cinematic media. There's other sources as well to back that up. So again, other people are recording a trend in physical media sales. Again, things like CDs, DVDs, and Blu-rays are up as high as 14% this year compared to previous years. And I think that the reason behind that is you're kind of like your off-grid viewing. You know, if you have a heavy dependence on streaming services, but then you don't have the internet for some reason, well, you know, you're done, aren't you, at that point?
Exactly.
You know, it's not often that we have it's not often that we don't have any internet whatsoever, but, you know, I think people are just enjoying having that physical media again to hold and to sort of touch that. And I think that the reason that's happening is because you can't rely on what's on your streaming platform. You're no more in control of what you are able to access via your streaming platform than you are sort of real terrestrial television and their scheduling. So if you want to watch a film and Netflix has recently just removed it for licensing reasons. You know, today I was watching films on Prime that are saying leaving shortly, you know. But if that's one of your favourite films and then all of a sudden it's gone from your Prime subscription, how else are you going to watch it? You're going to turn back to physical media, aren't you?
True. Yeah, or I mean, try and access the other million other streaming services, try and find it and realise actually you can't because there was a deal in place. They could only have that catalogue. And that agreement may still remain in place 6 months after it's been taken off that service.
Yeah, we've talked about this before with things like iTunes and other sort of music services even and film services. And that is even if you buy the digital media, if you still don't own that, you just have purchased the right to re-watch it.
Yeah.
You know, so you still don't own that film, that song, that album, whatever it is that you've bought as digital media. We've covered this in sort of previous episodes of the Tech Factor where we've looked at bequeathing those digital assets to people after your passing and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's extremely difficult to do because you don't really own anything.
True.
But you do with physical media. You do with Blu-ray, you do with DVD, you do with CD. And it's definitely a trend. Definitely people are going back to that.
It's true. And just to add to that as well, over the last, I think, maybe 2 or 3 years, we've seen a real big spike in vinyl.
Absolutely. Vinyl's never really gone out of fashion. It's always been there. But you're right. In the last 2 to 3 years, again, it's having a massive resurgence. Same for old school gaming consoles as well. Things like your NES and SNES, Game Gears and stuff like that. Lots of nostalgia is driving also the demand for physical media. And if you've got older copies or older systems, you are seeing price bumps for those, as they become more popular as well.
Yeah, and interesting you should say that. I saw a Spectrum, fully loaded, lots of games, and obviously it was similar to what it originally looked like, but smaller. And I was kind of surprised at how expensive it was. Yeah. It was not cheap. DVD, but loads of people were buying them.
Yeah, have a look at DVDs on eBay. Some of them are £25, £20 upwards. All of a sudden, because there's a demand for physical media now, I'm sort of like thinking, oh my God, I've got rid of so many DVDs recently.
Exactly.
Got rid of all of my CDs 10 years ago. But
you've just reminded me, actually, you're right. 10 years ago, everyone was just dumping their collections. You're like, well, it's not worth anything anymore. You'd walk into like a shop and they'd be like, yeah, we'll give you 99 pence for something that you've paid £25 for.
Yeah, or you sent them off to Music Magpie or some other kind of recycling service.
That's right, yeah.
And they've given you like 20 pence a disc or whatever.
Correct. And then all of a sudden you're like, but you're reselling it for 100% more. And it's just, even more than that, like 5,000% more. But what's your take on it, Joel? Where do you think this is going to go? Do you think that there is a genuine threat there from AI? I mean, are we facing competition, or is the sector facing competition from new technologies like VR-based content delivery or decentralized media services?
I think that streaming is in many ways sort of. I still do believe that it could be sort of ending up killing itself off, even with AI-related content. So in California, they have just recently released a law where it is now against the law to use the persona of an actor via AI. You have to have their express permission. Again, it's kind of like talking about like the deep fakey kind of stuff. Is there a future where we are creating content on demand through AI? I think that future does exist if we can power it. If we can keep it cool, if we can have our data centers making content on demand. I think there's a future for that, not just in TV and film, but I think also with gaming as well. That there is going to be a more fluid. You determine how the story progresses. So you sit down and watch a 90-minute film.
That would be cool.
You are subject to what the editors and directors and actors and storytelling is in front of you. But I think that with the advancements of AI, I think it could almost be rendering that film in real time. Yeah, and I think that you could ultimately start to interact with that film as a person, a bit like with the LLM sort of chatbot kind of stuff at the moment, where it sounds more human, you have more human conversations. I think that there could be a future with that. But again, it's probably going to be something that you're going to be streaming and subscribing to.
Yeah, I think definitely. So, but I'll tell you one thing. Are you from the future? Because that just sounds really compelling. I'll be quite frank with you.
Yeah. And if you follow
it sounds really like you're right. It could be almost anything they could apply that to. Now I'm starting to think about. Obviously, the initial thought would be gaming, because then you were like open world. You got AI, really really powerful AI, and you're like you said, you're just exploring endlessly, or you're doing things endlessly. Like say for example, you're playing Fallout. All that massive nuclear waste sites and areas like that, or you're playing, it eludes me, it will come to me, it's an adventure game on PlayStation, and you're essentially just, you're out there and you're just doing what you want.
Yeah, and I think you could get to that point in films as well. So if you didn't want the if you didn't want the cutesy couple to separate,
Yeah.
and you wanted them to have a happy ending and stay together forever, then you
get to choose it.
You get to choose the
Wow.
ending. You get to choose where the story arc goes.
So we know that from previously, what we know is that there are movies out there where they'll say, right, choose, if it'll come up on the DVD. Do you remember it? On
Yeah,
the
you
DVD,
can.
it'll come up, you press it and say, choose this ending.
There are a few things on
Yeah.
Netflix that you can do the similar sort of thing.
Yeah.
You can have 2 or 3 pre-recorded, predetermined options
That's
about
right.
what the main character does.
But Joel is thinking so far ahead now, and I love it. I think it's absolutely brilliant, But I also do feel like technologies like blockchain could usher in a new era of decentralized streaming platforms where creators directly control and distribute their content. So there's no middleman, there's no agency, there's no whatever. It's completely decentralized. So, for example, at the moment how, we have this radio show and we're on Salaam Radio and we're broadcasting, that's going on FM, and we have a regulator and so on. But now you can, like we were talking off air about podcasting and how it's so popular now, but people are using widely known platforms to share these, but they will all have a modus operandi. They'll have some sort of rules in place. But on a blockchain where there are no rules, you could have content that you create, and it's just decentralized. You can do what you want, say what you want, share what you want, and that pushes away the rules of streaming. So you might you might be in the country, like for example in the UK we have Ofcom, and there's certain rules and regulations that you need to adhere to. But I'm thinking that from a streaming perspective, if you're a filmmaker and you are a specific type of filmmaker, like a documentary filmmaker or something, and you're exposing some sort of huge story, like in the last 7 days, there have been some incredible things that have happened in the world, right? Whether it's warfare or it's individuals or whatever it may be, but having a blockchain where you can release that information without, like for example, how we had the whole WikiLeaks thing.
Yeah, you mean without censorship?
Yeah.
Even the big streaming platforms like Twitch, Vimeo, YouTube. Even when it comes down to sort of the metaverse and that kind of thing as well. Each one of those companies, just like Ofcom has over radio stations and TV stations, they still have their own individual platform rules that content creators have to adhere to.
Correct.
Specifically rules around swearing, nudity, sort of the usage of guns and all those kind of things. There's lots of very, very strict rules that the content creators have to adhere to.
Yep.
Now, the one thing within the game community which is very good and is widely supported, and that's like the creation of indie gamers, where they were just a few guys or a small team of people creating really, really wonderful, very beautiful games, but they're not got the AAA budgets. They're not like the EA and Rockstars of the world and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Do you see that a lot with movies? Maybe not. I don't know. I'm not that much of a movie buff to really appreciate how many movies are out there that are made by smaller production companies and things like that.
I think there's loads.
But maybe the decentralization of those kind of services could drive, more independent, movie and television series making teams and stuff. They certainly drive the quality as well.
I agree. Yeah, you're right. And then you don't have, potentially a lot of upfront costs that you may have when you're on certain platforms, when in that decentralized zone, shall we say. Thinking about what you said, I think we're both agreeing here then this evening that AI is going to definitely play a role, whatever happens now, because the world, it doesn't matter whether you're marketing you're a pharmaceutical company or an engineering company, or if you're a social media a company or whatever it is, everybody's embracing AI, because what we're realizing is that it plays a role somewhere in that chain for efficiency, or new ideas, new technology. And I think with the streaming side of things, obviously we'll see what actually happens, but I do feel that is what's going to happen. There's no way streaming services aren't currently using our data with AI to determine what we actually like.
Yeah.
More than what we know we like.
Yeah, I think that there's, when it comes to the music streaming service that I use, is pretty good at picking the kind of music that I like. Yeah. It's all the same stuff that I was listening to 20 years ago, but it does kind of push me in front of new songs, every now and again, and it does do a pretty decent job of it. On my account on Netflix, it does a fairly decent job at promoting various documentaries and things, and again, it's boring stuff like car documentaries and war films and all that kind of stuff, just because I'm a middle-aged man basically, so it kind of knows the kind of stuff that I'd be interested in. But if that can be more finely tuned with AI, then I'd be happy about that.
Yeah, because you're always going to feel like you're always receiving something that you want without having to search for it.
Yeah.
I like that. Gosh, the first half of the show is already up, Joel. Time is flying. Well, we're going to take a quick break, but when we return, we'll be diving into some cool tech tips and funny stories of the week. So stick around for more of the Tech Factor. Plenty more to come, plenty of new stories, I'm sure. We hope you can get involved with those as well. So stay tuned to 106.2 FM or comment on our live streams with the topics that are coming up.
In the heart of Peterborough, this is Salaam Radio.
Bite into something wonderfully tasty at Big Mouth, 349 at Lincoln Road in Peterborough. Eating in for takeaway or delivery, Big Mouth now have a delicious new menu full of all your favourites. Crispy fried chicken, juicy smashed burgers, finger-licking peri-peri chicken, handmade pizzas, quality doner meat and so much more. So visit the family-friendly Big Mouth restaurant for fantastically fresh food. Call 01733 201020 or visit getbigmouthonline.com.
Attention foodies! Discover a world of flavours at Pack Foods, the largest ethnic supermarket in Peterborough. Shop our vast selection of authentic ingredients from around the globe, including spices, marinated fish and meats, and exotic fruits at incredibly low prices. And the best part? We offer free parking. No more hunting for a spot. Come visit us today and explore the incredible range of flavours at Pack Foods, 232 Lincoln Road.
Satisfy your cravings at Ibrahimi Buffet Restaurant. Enjoy a tantalising variety of Chinese, Italian, Pakistani and comfort food favourites, from starters to desserts. Kids under 5 dine for free, so bring the whole family to our location at 63 Sycamore Avenue. Open every day from 5 p.m. till 10:30 p.m. Call us on 01733 313131 or book online to reserve your table. Ibrahimi-restaurant.co.uk. Every bite is a delight at Ibrahimi Buffet Restaurant.
Masterminds Tuition Academy is for your high schoolers, your something to provers, your subject strugglers and keen learners, your brave jumpers and fist pumpers. Affordable personalised learning plans are delivered through our centres in schools across Peterborough. But not to worry, we also provide online and home visits with flexible timings. Whether it is maths, English, science or 11+, Masterminds is a must. Find us on all socials and visit our website mastermindstuitionacademy.com or call us on 07516 166 003. Masterminds, master the matrix.
Craving authentic Desi flavors? Look no further than Desi Restaurant. From midday until 1 in the morning, enjoy our homemade specialties that will transport your taste buds. Indulge in tantalizing papri chaat and savor the rich chersi kadahi. Treat your friends to our fresh 1 kilogram chersi lamb handi. Plus, get 2 12-inch pizzas for $11.95. Located at 298 Lincoln Road, we deliver from lunchtime until 1 a.m. Call 01733 555 795 now to order and experience Desi Restaurant's flavors.
Whether you visit the Berry Furniture Showroom at 78B Fengate in Peterborough or view and buy online, you'll be amazed at the quality and style you could enjoy in your home. With beds from just £299 and complete 321 sofa sets from less than £1,000, you'll also be amazed at their wholesale prices too. Plus, there's a 1-year free warranty on sofas and beds, subject to conditions. Find out more, click on Berry, that's BERRE furniture.co.uk or call 01733 300 517.
At Master's Pharmacy, we put your health and convenience first. We offer free blood pressure checks and blister-packed medication. With our free same-day prescription delivery service, you can have your medication when you need it. We also offer travel vaccinations, including Hajj and Umrah, along with other services to meet all your pharmacy needs. For more information, contact Masters Pharmacy on 01733 567 208 or visit us at 303 Lincoln Road, PE1 2PH.
You're listening to Peterborough's community radio, Salaam Radio. Salaam Radio, 106.2 FM.
Welcome back to the Tech Factor. If you've just tuned in, you missed a heated but joyful discussion about the future of streaming services. But don't worry, everything's digital these days. You can catch up on our social media streams and discuss with yourselves or text us and let us know your feelings about what's going to be happening to the future of streaming. Now, moving on to some tech stories of the week. And so far, I'd say the month so far, September has been pretty awesome. We've had some really cool things that have happened. So it's now time for the tech stories of the week with Joel.
The first one is very similar to what we've just been talking about, actually. So it ties in with the whole streaming topic. Not an accident. So this is a gentleman called Michael Smith. And he is probably the first person in history to go to prison for fraud. Okay, but the fraud that he's carried out is he was using AI to create fake music bands and fake music. Then he's using bots to inflate his streaming numbers, and then he's earned more than £10 million in royalties.
Oh my days!
Wow. Let's dig into it.
Wait. Go.
Hit me with some numbers first.
Oh wow! I'm trying to process what you've just said.
Yeah. So we all know. So let's look at the business model to start with for those people that don't know. So if you are a influencer or you're a content creator and you're putting either music onto a streaming platform like Spotify or YouTube Music, or if you're doing video or podcast content and you're putting that out onto things like Twitch or YouTube or whatever, you will get money and royalties for how many times that's played, or you'll get paid per click when it comes to adverts that are shown on your channel and stuff like that. So that's how content creators make money out of YouTube. On top of that, you might make revenue through merchandise and that kind of thing. So what this gentleman's done, what Mr. Michael Smith has done, is he's set up that is basically that by himself as one person. So instead of a content creator putting a video up and then trying to get loads of people to watch it, you know, Mr. Beast is one of the biggest of YouTubers out there, you know, and he will get like a couple of million views in, you know, like an hour or two of his videos being up, and he will make so much money out of those million or two views. You know, that's where his revenue stream comes from. But what Michael Smith's done is he created thousands of bot accounts. So for those that don't know, what a bot is basically it's an artificial account. It's a piece of software that acts like a human being and plays the content that he's creating to then earn the royalties and to get the money from it being played. So what he's actually done, he's created 1,000 bots accounts on music platforms, including Amazon Music, Apple Music, Spotify, and YouTube Music. This is all according to the indictment. He's then used software to make the accounts constantly stream the songs that he owns, okay? But he's also creating those songs using AI. And it's estimated that at one point he was using the account, so these automated accounts, to generate 661,000 streams per day, yielding...
What?
Okay, right. Yeah, I'm hitting with some figures now. Yielding around about 1.2 million in annual royalties. Yeah. So what he also worked out that he needed to do to sail this under the radar for so long is he had to avoid the streaming of a single song. Yeah. Because if you got 6,000 bots to stream one song repeatedly, over and over and over again. People like Spotify, Amazon, etc., they're going to spot that and just be like, oh, that's bot activity. Yeah, that's artificial activity. That's not real humans getting those plays, okay? So what he did is he spread his automated streams across thousands of songs that he had written and published under different names, under different artists, all using AI to write and create the songs. He was mindful that a single song that was streamed 1 billion times would raise suspicion among the streaming platforms, as we've just said. So what he ended up doing was getting up to 1 billion streams throughout tens of thousands of songs because it was more difficult to detect.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Smart, man.
Yeah, very,
really
very,
thinking
very,
about it. Really
yeah.
thinking about, I can't just put one song, stream it 1 billion times and expect to make money. He's essentially made thousands of songs with thousands of bots and thousands of plays, but try to make it appear as natural as possible, like they're actual real plays.
Wow.
And he's cashing in that creator royalty the entire time, and all through ad revenue and whatever else revenue he might have been getting, sort of thing. So how was he caught? So in December 2018, I'm just reading here. Yeah, it turns to AI to keep the system afloat. It was necessary for the numbers of songs that he needed. He eventually, in 2028, began working with chief executive of AI music companies and music promoter to create hundreds of thousands of songs. Just dipping through the...
This is so impressive. I mean, just the thought process, may I clarify?
Yeah. So ultimately, it boils down to the fact that he did get caught.
Yes.
And I think that he got caught because it got to the point where he was ultimately detected.
Yeah, of course he would have. But my question to you, after listening to the whole thing, so where did he break the law? So did he break the law where he's using the bots to effectively act as the people, in inverted commas, listening to his songs? Because obviously creating music using AI, surely that's not breaking the law, is it?
No, I think where it comes from is the fact that he was using then these artificial bots to do the artificial streaming with it.
Correct.
Defrauding the music companies from the royalties.
That makes sense. Because if it had been him creating all of that music, putting it out there, and legitimately 100 million people listen to his tracks, that's not a problem.
Correct.
Because if you look at YouTube, you'll find there are accounts on YouTube that have hundreds of millions of views, but they're known as faceless accounts.
Yeah.
Okay, so they'll create sensory videos, they'll create rain videos, and so on.
Yeah.
And again, you'll see loads of people out there showing you. In fact, there's an industry now out there now, Joel, where people are essentially copying other people's content, repackaging it. So for example, they may see something on TikTok, they'll screen record that, feed that over into another platform, change the audio, so the visual has been stolen, the audio they put in from somewhere else, again a faceless account, upload it to YouTube, and they're making money.
Yeah, and I there's one of my pet peeves is the very, very popular at the moment. That's like the reaction videos.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what the reaction video people do.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's right, because what happens with those reaction videos is if that reaction content creator is far more successful than the original content creator, then what happens is that revenue stream for that smaller content creator effectively stops when that reaction video launches, because everyone watches that original person's content but with someone reacting over the top of it. And I don't understand fully why YouTube doesn't crack down on that kind of behavior. When YouTube will crack down on you using a copyrighted song on a video, but they will let you take someone else's content, like you've just talked about, like I've just talked about, and change it in some way, or record over it, or do reaction videos to it, and that kind of thing. And I just think, well, hang on a second, I don't like that side of it. I think that's quite a dark side of the streaming content we're seeing. And yeah, you do, to perfectly back you up, but on YouTube there's an awful lot of AI content, AI created content. I think there's a lot more AI created music content out there as well. And ultimately, creating content and publishing it isn't breaking the law in the context that we're talking about here. It's the fact that he was then defrauding those companies by artificially inflating the amount of plays that content was getting.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I have to say, from just a planning perspective, I mean, this guy thought of almost everything, didn't he?
Yeah, and I think that, you know, now that the sort of it's come to light and he's actually gone to prison for it, I could not imagine that he's the only person out there doing it.
True, but I also now can't imagine that there will be, if there wasn't already, these big companies employing or deploying more sophisticated technology, like AI, themselves to try and snoop out this happening.
Yeah. Even back in the day when I had a small YouTube channel, you know, I would go through I experimented with promoting it, sort of paid promotion sort of thing, and having a look. But when I noticed that when I looked at the stats of where it was watched, all of a sudden, all of my money got chewed up by something in the Philippines. And you're just like, hang on a second, that's not my target audience. Why have I just had 7,000 views from someone in the Philippines? But even back then, that could have been bot activity, or it could have been artificial activity from something that's just, you know, sort of taken my pay-per-click budget that I've got and just made that disappear. And then all of a sudden, my videos got more views and more likes. But were they real people?
But you were talking in the Philippine language, I'm pretty sure, on that particular video. No, jokes aside, but I see what you mean.
So this guy's been caught and this guy's gone to prison, but he cannot be the only one out there.
No way.
Artificially inflating streaming numbers.
True.
When streaming numbers, likes, clicks, follows, you know, like and subscribe, that is just drives the content creators world. It drives all the YouTube algorithms, it drives all the other platform algorithms and stuff like that. In terms of ultimate engagement, there has to be bot farms out there that are
all over the place,
that are just, you know, doing those likes, clicks and things like that.
I agree. And I think, I guess for him, perhaps he just got too big.
And I think
maybe if he stayed on, you know, it's that whole, you know, you see some of these people who do these great crimes, and I mean great in terms of the size and their nature, and you'll find that the best example actually is Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, right? So on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, at £500,000, they would have walked clean, nothing would have happened, because at that moment there was suspicion.
Oh, the coughing.
Okay. But on the £1 million question, they had all figured out these guys are in it together. Yeah. But £500,000, he would have walked away.
There's lots of speculation around, you know, when this news broke about this person that had been caught for this. There was lots of speculation saying, did they get too greedy? Did they push it too far? And that's what then raised the red flag, just exactly the same way that you're talking about with Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Had they kept it to, you know, he ultimately got to 10 million in royalties. Had he kept it to 5, had he reduced the amount of content he was creating, reduced the amount of bots they were using, could they have flown under the radar for a lot longer?
Yeah.
You know, and gone undetected, but still made a fairly decent amount of money, enough money not to work. You know,
true, and not ended up in prison. But moreover, I think this just reminds you, you know, man is always is hungry and greedy. It's in human nature. You're like, well, I know I'm going to get 5 million here, but if I do that, maybe that 10 was the cutoff. If I get there, that's say I'm retiring. But then you might have got there and said, actually, I want 15. So it's just the nature of the beast. But if anything, I guess we already knew that AI was going to be used in particular ways by humanity, and this is just one way. And you're right, absolutely, you're right. There will be industries out there, you know, organizations out there. For example, if you have a social media account, whether any of the social media platforms, and you want to grow your following, it's a simple search in Google. You will find an infinite amount of organizations willing, as long as you're willing to part with some money, they will say, right, we'll get you 1 million followers tomorrow. We'll do this. This is all part of that big pool of organizations, companies, people, you know, who are doing things against the law, but using technology to try and gain an advantage. You know, they'll say, right, okay, give me your credentials, give us 36 hours, because we believe in those 36 hours, you won't get blocked because we will add at such a rate it will seem natural. And that's quite popular. But this, I have to say, Joel, well, I mean, we're missing Sham tonight, where he comes in with a wide story from somewhere. But this is phenomenal. I mean, it just makes you think how far the human mind willingness with technology certainly is. And I think you're right. This is just one fish in the sea.
Okay, so if that's blown your mind, let me just quickly tell you about the next one.
Go for it.
Which is also going to blow your mind.
Oh, I'm ready for it.
So, how do you fancy having a moon base by 2035?
Ooh. It seems...
We are a step closer.
Are we?
We are.
Okay.
So China has actually managed to extract water from moon rock. And
wow.
that is huge, because if you can extract water on the moon at source, you do not have to keep sending it up there.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that they can now, this is part of Chinese researchers, they've discovered the method to produce water from the lunar soil. This comes part of finding in Chang's E5 mission, and the process involves heating the soil, and it just releases the water vapor. So the water is already trapped there in the rock, in the soil, and the significance of it means that this breakthrough could ultimately lead to future lunar bases, space stations orbiting the moon as well, because they will have a reliable water source, essential for life and the production of fuel as well. And it's really heavy, isn't it? So
exactly, this is very
to
true.
get it up there,
to get it up there,
in enough quantities
Yeah.
to sustain a base, to sustain and use into fuel, or maybe into sort of like indoor agriculture or anything along those kind of lines. You know, you'd be forever sending it up there, and the actual weight of it would be, I think, prohibitive to do that on the kind of volume that you'd be looking at. So they have managed to extract it from the rocks, and they're talking about China is aiming to establish moon base by 2035 and space station orbiting the moon by 2045.
Are you busy then? Because I think maybe we should take a trip there. But didn't China land on the dark side of the moon?
I think so, yeah.
They did, didn't they? I'm pretty sure they or was it India? It was one of them two.
Yeah, and India as well,
yeah. They're on the other side of the moon.
Yeah, but I think that the space race is back on.
It's back on.
Moon's up for sale.
Absolutely. And with that in mind, I'm glad you brought that up. Did you see this week, we saw a billionaire privately fund his trip via SpaceX onto the moon. He was there, and then you had a SpaceX employee there. She went out as well on the walk, but she was testing a suit. And he stood there. You see him come out to the platform, and he's looking at Earth.
So SpaceX have reached the moon. I did not realise that.
Right, and they've been doing it for ages anyway. But they've been just sending their rockets there, right? The moon. But this was the first time a non-professional astronaut has gone to the moon. And he's a tech billionaire. Anyway, he's gone there, and this image, Joel, you see, there's a platform there. He walks to the edge of the platform. He's got all the gear on and everything, and you just, I don't know. It was a moment. I have to say. I mean, I was more than intrigued. I was like, this. I asked myself a question: would I want to do something like that? And I mean, given the fact that you went with me onto the BT Tower, do you recall?
Yeah.
And in 2018, I don't know if the moon's good enough. Is a place that I could go. But that being said, Joel, just imagine you had that opportunity. I mean, I know for a fact you take it, right? And you have this opportunity to walk out on a platform and just look at Earth. I mean, it must be. I mean, it's mesmerizing just seeing it on a screen, a 4K screen. You're like, it just blows your mind. But to just see that, and then you mentioned about how, on the moon, they found water and they have bases and so on. I mean, it kind of makes you want to live for quite a lot longer, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. But I mean, we're old duffers, so we're not going to end up on the moon base by 2035. But our children could.
Yeah, 100%.
Our children could. So the science fiction stories that we've grown up with, could be a reality for our children's lifetime.
True.
They could be working on the moon. I think that's just absolutely fascinating. But I was following the story of the two astronauts from the Boeing space project that are currently trapped on the
Oh, did you see that?
ISS.
Yeah. Trapped is the absolutely perfect word.
Yeah, wow.
And like, okay, yeah. So just so you're aware, can you imagine you're there, right? Imagine it's us two. We're there, and we know it's on Tuesday. We're supposed to be going back down, and we just get this call Monday evening. Look, you're gonna have to stay there for another year. For a year, you're like, what? You just imagine.
8 days turn into 8 weeks, turn into 8 months, turn into sometime next year. And it's only because SpaceX have turned around and agreed and said, yeah, well, we'll try and make 2 seats empty for you to come back. Wow. Yeah. So, it does put a little bit of egg on Boeing's face because they can't rescue their own astronauts. They're having to rely on essentially a competition company.
Correct.
To rescue rescue those 2 people. It's something that, again, you're not always necessarily going to you think about that could happen, and you don't think that that's going to happen to me. And those 2 people when they went to the space station, that would have been the furthest thing from their mind.
Absolutely.
I think you realise that there's a certain amount of risk involved.
Yeah, I mean, they must make you sign your life away.
Yeah, and I think that you come to terms with the fact that I'm either going to live or I might die, and I think you can come to terms with either one of those. But being trapped there, and at the time it was almost indefinitely until SpaceX have stepped in and said, no, actually we can rescue you. That's something that I don't think I would have considered in terms of space flight.
I agree with you, and then it goes back to provisions, I guess. Have you got enough provisions in place to sustain you for that time that you're going to be there? What jobs will you carry out? How do you deal with boredom? I mean, you see cameras inside of some of these space stations, whether they're NASA and so on, and you see how normal life, I guess, is within that. But you are literally obviously in a bubble. And I've watched actually documentaries, quite a lot of documentaries, Joel, of people who've been to the moon, right? And one thing that they all had in common was when they talk about as they orbit Earth, or vice versa, what they see. So they would mention, we know we're over X continent because this is what's taking place. And you're like, wow.
Yeah.
Just wow. And some of these astronauts have done like 40, 50 trips and it just decreases depending on their experience and so on. I just find the whole thing fascinating.
I think it keeps you humble.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I think, and they're very humble with the delivery of that information as well, with the way they share it, what they've seen, the work that they've done, the reason why they went there. And I don't know. I mean, I would love to go, but I think after the BT Tower, I've done the Berlin TV Tower, and recently I did Bishopsgate, the Lookout. Okay, which is even higher than the BT Tower. But I think I'm at limit now, so I don't know. I think I'd have to be sedated and then woken up when I'm inside the spaceship, and then be screaming because no one else could hear me to be able to carry that out. But no, listen, well done. I think you've got a third one, haven't you?
I have, but I was going to say, shall we wrap up with new iPhone talk?
We can, yes. So we know this week, well, actually the week before, but we know that the iPhone 16 was released. So the usual fare, standard handset, bunch of new colours, a Pro and a Pro Max. No real, I mean, look, there's a new button on the side of the phone which allows you to zoom in and out, toggle the photo app and stuff. It's interesting. Everybody knows I'm an Apple guy, although obviously I run with both. I've got the S24 Ultra just behind me as well as an iPhone Pro phone. I feel like as much as there are some cool new things, don't get me wrong, okay? But this is the first time that I feel like there hasn't been enough innovation, physical innovation with the device, but moreover, with Apple Intelligence, which is the key thing where they're trying to add the two together, with iOS 18 that's just been released, none of those features are available. So you're basically purchasing a device, paying a lot of money for a device, because as you guys know, iPhones are not cheap, and you're not getting everything straight away. So, yeah, I've been a bit lukewarm with it. It's the first time.
Yeah,
right?
You're not the only one. I think the sales are not are not as good as previous iPhone launches.
Yeah, I agree with you. But I think we'll find out in the next couple of months.
There's perhaps just not enough difference between.
There certainly isn't between the 15 and the 16. But the chip is gone up 2 generations. So we have an 18 Pro now. It was an A16, now it's an A18. This is specifically because of the power that's required for Apple Intelligence. Okay, so that's the reason for that. Now, it's coincidental that we're talking about this tonight. I mean, obviously, we don't have enough time to do justification for the topic. We will pick this back up. But I found a newspaper article, Joel, from 2007 of me standing in a queue, waiting to collect the very first iPhone in town. And I think of that iPhone, which was revolutionary, at the time versus what's out now. Obviously, there's been a massive innovation to this point, but it's like I'm not saying they've run out of ideas, but the way that we are being sold this information, this cycle, I guess, of having to constantly upgrade the device. I think a lot of people are saying, nah, we'll pick this up in a future show, but I feel now more people are looking at 2 to 3 generations before they will switch. Yeah, but I'm running out of time. I know you got a new phone. Quickly plug it.
Got the Samsung Fold 6.
Do you like it?
Yeah, innovative as well.
I mean, that is. You can't beat that. I mean, I had the Fold 4 for a while.
Where's iPhone's folding phones?
Yeah,
No.
but I tell you what, you know what they're like? They'll do it at their own pace and it'll be like the best thing since sliced bread.
Yeah.
But they'll be like, and they'll call it something funky. Of course they will. But what we will do is we'll pick up this topic, about Apple in the future. But I hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back in a couple of weeks' time. Good to see you again, Joel.
Good to see you,
And stay safe. We'll catch you on the next episode of Tech Factor.
Thanks, bye.
Visit our website